Jocelyn Benson, Michigan's Secretary of State, will be here too on this primary election day, and Tony Daunt is with us right now on our AT&T line from the Michigan Freedom Fund. And if you were sitting with Jocelyn Benson right now on our line, sir, what would you ask her?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I think first and foremost, I would ask, maybe it's two-part. One would be, point to the specific statutory authorization to send unsolicited absentee ballot applications to every registered voter in the state of Michigan. And then part two of that would be, what have they been doing with all of those that have come back as undeliverable, or as this person doesn't live here, or this person has died? Because I'm sure that's a significant number. And, she makes these claims that, well, they did this so that it would help prune our voter rolls. Well, let's see some proof that that's actually what they intended, and that this isn't just some excuse or some reasoning they made up on the fly to justify that, really ridiculous mistake that was made. And so that's just two. Certainly there are others.
Do you mean that somebody might get a hold of that invitation for an absentee ballot that's dead or living in the house that's not the same person, and then send that in and fill it out?
Yeah, I think that anytime that you open up avenues for fraud, that it's a dangerous thing. And very frankly, it's unfortunate that the president in particular takes some of these real justifiable concerns about avenues for fraud and what it means to the integrity of our system, and just makes the argument in such a ham-fisted way that it makes it easy for people like Jocelyn Benson or Gretchen Whitmer or other Democrats to demagogue the issue and say, well, fraud just simply doesn't exist, or, point to some of the more ridiculous things that he would say and distract from the real potential for fraud that exists when something like that happens, and deflect from the issue of the incompetence of mailing to what I'm sure was probably hundreds of thousands of people who shouldn't have received an application, because the evidence is overwhelming of people who received stuff for their child who moved 10 years ago, or somebody they bought the house from 20 years ago, or somebody who died several years ago. All of that is, it's incompetence, number one, but it is an avenue for fraud, and we should be worried about that, and we should take additional precautions to make sure it doesn't happen.
And would the answer, well, she'll be with us later and I'll ask her, but is the answer for the push to get people to vote by mail due to COVID-19?
I think that,
or was
voters,
that an excuse?
I think that it was. I think it was certainly an excuse. I think that it's something that she's wanted to do for a long time, and I think it just, again, if you're going to encourage people to vote absentee, that's one thing, because that exists. They don't need a reason to do so, and it's something we should encourage if people feel comfortable doing that. But that's different argument than just saying, oh, we're going to mail to every registered voter an application, whether you've asked for it or not. And on top of that, for it to go to so many incorrect people just shows that it was a policy that was not well thought out. And because it was discovered and got such a high amount of publicity, they had to come up with an excuse, and this was just the one they came up with, that, oh, well, we meant to do that so that we could prune the voter rolls. And until they show proof for that, I think we should all be skeptical and not take them at their word.
What is your reaction to the word that you do not have to wear a mask at the polling place?
Well, given that voting is pretty much the height of democracy and our constitutional right and our freedom, I think it's probably the right call that to force people to do that as a precursor or a requirement to vote would be dangerous, and I think people would be setting up a constitutional battle we simply don't need. I think the safer option is to say, you certainly don't have to, but we think you should. And obviously, I think wearing a mask is helpful, and I do it. You can wear a mask with a political statement. We actually have some at our store of Michigan Freedom Funds, swag stuff where you can make some political statements, and so wear it and make a statement. But I think that's the right thing to do.
How do we order those, and what do you have available? What statements?
Oh goodness, there's some. One you can say there's a comment about. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think it was Lord Acton with a image of the governor. You can get some that just say freedom is essential, kind of playing on the whole, essential versus non-essential. And that's available at our store at MichiganFreedomFund.threadless.com. That's Threadless, THREADLESS. And
if you get the Michigan Freedom Fund, I'm sure you can find it. Well, happy primary election day. And that's Tony Daunt, Michigan Freedom Fund with MPS.